I can't believe how much my French improves from watching movie clips and YouTube videos, way more than it ever did from any class that I took. So today I'm going to show you how to get the most out of the French media that you're watching so that you can turn those episodes you watch into entire French lessons. I'm Kritika from Fluent U, and we want to help you learn French through real-world videos so that you can speak just like a native. We'll go over differentiating similar sounds, anchor words, going one part of speech at a time, when to use closed captioning, and general tips for understanding French media. Method 1 is what's that sound, or en leçon sur le son. French is notorious for having a million different spellings for the same sound, and that's part of what makes it so difficult for learners to understand French. Your brain could be stuck on one spelling of the word when it's really something else, and this method helps break that down.
Mes amis en grandissant, c'était pas des acteurs, c'était pas des gens de show business, mais quand même, il y a ma vie toujours à New York. Je peux faire l'acting de New York.
There's a section after mes amis where his phrase gets a little confusing, so let's take a listen.
Mes amis en grandissant, c'était pas des acteurs, c'était pas des gens de show business.
Here are some options for what he could have said after mes amis. En gros, disons. En grandissant. Encore, dis, un. Or, on grandit sans. To eliminate one of these options, let's see if any of them are ungrammatical. For mes amis, you would conjugate using the il, elle plural form. And for dire, that's il, elle, disent, not disons. So we can get rid of option A. Even though French pronunciation often gets smushed together, there are some tricks that you can use to distinguish between sounds. I'm going to say the rest of the options out loud slowly, and I want you to pay attention to what sound the S makes. En grandissant, encore disent, un. On grandit sans. Notice that in option B and D, the S makes a S sound, while in option C, it makes a Z sound. So, which sound is Timothée making?
Mes amis en grandissant, c'était pas des acteurs.
It's a S sound, so we can get rid of option C. Now that we've gotten rid of that C, the C that we should pay attention to is context. Let's take a look at which one makes more sense given the part of the sentence that says, Mes amis, c'était pas des acteurs, c'était pas des gens de show business. Is it option D? Mes amis en grandissant, my friends we grew up without, they weren't actors, they weren't people of show business? Or is it option B? Mes amis en grandissant, c'était pas des acteurs, c'était pas des gens de show business. My friends growing up, they weren't actors, they weren't people involved in show business. I think it's option B. And given that c'était is the past imperfect or l'imparfait, this makes sense since en grandissant would be talking about the past. As a language learner for many years, I honestly believe the best way to learn French is watching real-world videos like this and hearing words and phrases in context. Of course, this can still be challenging no matter what your level, which is why I love using a tool like Fluent U to help me out. You can find videos for all levels in French, and what's great is that they all come with a French transcript on the bottom. I can pick a video on a topic that I like, such as sustainability and waste, and quickly look up words that I don't know. Based on your level, some of the words will also be underlined depending on what Fluent U thinks may be new to you.
Prenons l'exemple des emballages
Emballage.
plastiques qui représentent un peu plus de 10% de nos déchets ménagers.
I really like this video because I can learn a bunch of vocabulary words related to one topic, but see them used in context so that I can actually remember these words, and then apply the same thing to a different video on YouTube. If you want to follow along on Fluent U, there's a link to a free trial in the description, and this will come really handy in our next clip where we learn about being eco-friendly with comedian Marina Rollman. Method 2 focuses on using anchor words, words that you either understand or are very clear, and words that are important to the context. You can use anchor words to orient yourself first, and then fill in the gaps with the rest of the words.
Moi, je le vois quand je vais faire mes courses, je suis pas du tout consciente écologiquement. Je suis là comme une petite baronne, je pousse mon caddie, je me pose pas de questions. Je suis là, ah, ça c'est quoi, emballer 15 fois dans du plastique? Oui, vous m'en mettrez 4, c'est rigolo. Quand tu fais gaffe à la planète, tu te poses des questions existentielles devant chaque rayon. Tu vois, t'es là, putain, qu'est-ce qui est local et de saison? Qu'est-ce qui est local et de saison?
The first anchor word that I'm choosing is course, which is a bit of a false friend. False friends are words in French that look similar to English words, but mean something completely different. In French, faire des courses means to go grocery shopping, and this helps a lot because since she's talking about her personal experiences, we can deduce that she said something like quand je fais mes courses or les courses. The next anchor phrase is consciente écologiquement. This helps with context. We'll be hearing a story about her being eco-friendly while grocery shopping. By the way, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Moving on, she then says, je pousse mon caddie, and pousser simple enough just means to push, and since we decided that she is grocery shopping, Mon caddie likely means cart. Of course, you can look this up if you want to, but isn't it pretty cool how your brain just has the tools to learn new words by itself? Remember, it's not like babies have dictionaries. The next anchor word I hear is plastique, and I remember from the Fluent U video that we were watching that emballage is packaging, like plastic packaging. I think that's still relevant, since the last time I went to Trader Joe's, there sure were a lot of veggies wrapped in plastic. Is that what she's saying?
Ah, ça c'est quoi, emballer 15 fois dans du plastique? Oui, vous m'en mettrez 4, c'est rigolo.
Emballer 15 fois dans du plastique? Yikes. But yeah, sounds about right. Another way to use anchor words is to identify words that you hear clearly and look them up. For example, she says rayon pretty clearly, so you could confidently look that up on a platform like Fluent U. I really like watching comedians because they're very animated with what they're saying, so you can kind of deduce what they're talking about depending on their hand gestures.
Quand tu fais gaffe à la planète, tu te poses des questions existentielles devant chaque rayon. Tu vois, t'es là, putain, qu'est-ce qui est local et de saison? Qu'est-ce qui est local et de saison?
Now that she's saying qu'est-ce qui est local de saison, she must have switched to a different persona. Now, before this, I did hear quand tu fais gaffe à la planète, but let's say I'm not completely sure what that means. I can look that up and see that, oh, it means to be careful or to pay attention to, so we can confirm that now she has switched to a persona who is conscious about the planet. Method 3 involves going one part of speech at a time. One of the most difficult things for French learners is deciphering French verb conjugations, especially during really fast passages. You might get stuck on figuring out the verb tense and the noun and the subject, and it's all just too confusing. So for this method, we are going a little old school. You're going to need a piece of paper and a pen. You can use a word processing dock on your device, but the autocorrect will likely mess up anything that you're typing. I'm going to play a movie clip and start by writing one part of speech. I typically choose verbs in their infinitive form, and make sure to space each word apart with a big gap in between. Then on the second pass, do perhaps nouns, and on the third pass, adjectives or significant phrases. And on your last pass, fill in the subjects as well as the conjugations of verbs until you have basically reconstructed the dialogue. I'll share the words that I wrote down after playing the clip, so be sure to play this clip as many times as you want if you are following along.
Pour ne rien arranger, je suis coincé à un repas familial où la conversation tourne actuellement autour...
C'est du chauffage au sol.
Oh, dis donc.
Ah oui, ça a l'air intéressant.
Ah bah oui, c'est intéressant.
Et toi, Adrien, tu en penses quoi?
Vous me demandez ce que je pense du chauffage au sol alors que j'ai envoyé un message à 17h24 et que j'ai toujours pas de réponse? Pour ne rien arranger, je suis coincé à un repas familial où la conversation tourne actuellement autour...
C'est du chauffage au sol.
Oh, dis donc.
Ah oui, ça a l'air intéressant.
Ah bah oui, c'est intéressant.
Et toi, Adrien, tu en penses quoi?
Vous me demandez ce que je pense du chauffage au sol alors que j'ai envoyé un message à 17h24 et que j'ai toujours pas de réponse?
For verbs, I wrote arranger, coincer, demander, avoir, envoyer, et penser. For nouns, I wrote repas familial, conversation, chauffage au sol, message et réponse. For phrases and fillers, I wrote c'est intéressant, autour, and actuellement. The last step, like I said, would be to go back and include any of the subjects and verb conjugations, and also take some time to look up words that you don't know until what you've reconstructed really flows like a conversation. I know this exercise seems a bit tedious, but with practice you'll be able to just do it in your head by playing a clip a couple of times. Closed captioning is a bit of a trap. Yes, everything is transcribed for you, but it's often wrong. But if you know enough French, you'll be able to look at the words and see which ones are real and which ones are made up, and often you can find what you're looking for. Think of it as a lifeline so that if you're really stuck, you can use it to move on from a section so that you don't spend too much time deciphering one thing.
Oui, bon, ça va, ça fait pas 3 jours que je me pèle les miches pour passer à côté de la raclette de ma vie parce que madame a regardé trop de vidéos d'abattoirs sur Facebook, ok? Maintenant qu'on a commencé, on termine, ce sera notre petit secret entre nous, et puis voilà, en rentrant, tu feras une petite photo de muesli sur Instagram et tout le monde sera content, ok?
In order to specifically get better at understanding French media, I recommend watching things with French subtitles, not English ones, so that your brain can make a connection between the smushed up sounds that you're hearing and what words they actually represent. Using a tool to guide you like Fluent U, especially when you don't have access to a native speaker, it's really important to hear words in context, how they're pronounced, so that you can learn concepts quickly and well. And of course, focus on your interests. You'll be so much more inclined to learn when you're actually interested in the media that you're watching, and you'll be more motivated to look up all the words and really understand the concepts. If you like this video, be sure to check out the free PDF linked below on tips to understanding French grammar. And if you still want some guidance on another French video, check out this deep dive into the movie trailer of L'heure de la sortie.